DEI After 5 is produced by the Leon Thomas Group. For more information, go to theleonthomasgroup.com.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of DEI After 5. So, there's been a lot going on in the world around us, the country. Depending on what state you're in, there may be things that are happening that are impacting the people that you live with, that you work with, that you're in community with. And so, what I wanted to do today was talk about how this shows up in the workplace. One of the lessons that we learned, hopefully through COVID, is that our lives are not separated once we walk into the workplace, right? Once we walk into those office doors, we don't leave who we are at the door. Those things impact us and how we show up in the workplace. And so I want to make sure that we are not forgetting the human side of how we show up, how we operate. We cannot ignore that for some people, the world around them is burning. And so, as employees, as leaders, as folks that are part of a team, we need to acknowledge and also support those that are around us that may not be able to show up fully because their minds are somewhere else or they are being impacted in ways that may not impact you in the same way. And so I wanted to really spend today talking about that and how we need to just show up for each other during these times. I was talking to someone earlier this week, and if you've been following any of my posts, if you've been listening for the last couple of episodes, I've really been talking about people being burnt out, people being tired. And it's a different tired than what I've seen before. This is a weariness. This is an exhaustion that is not just physical, but mental. This is people just trying to figure out how to survive in many instances. And so, really want you to think about, what resources are you providing? What type of support are you providing people within your organization, within your team, right? We can't change too much of what is happening right now in the immediate, but what you can do is think about what is in your sphere of control. What can you control? You can control the environment that you create. You can control how you are showing up and supporting each other, right? So now is this time to act like, okay, we're humans. So, what's going on? Is there something that I can do? How can I best support you? Those are the types of questions that you need to be asking right now. This is not about, forgetting what's happening in the world and just being head down. That is the robotic way of doing things. That is the old school way of doing things. And what we have learned post pandemic is that that is not how people are operating in this day, in this time, even though for some people that's how they want to return. They want to return back to a time where people were emotionless in the workplace. That's not going to happen. Pandora's box has been opened. And so, right now is the time for you to truly show up as a leader. How are you doing that? How are you supporting? How are you pushing back? How are you asking people to rest? Right? This is what we really need to be thinking about right now. Um, a couple of days ago, I was, listening to the news, and it's something that I don't do often because part of my self-care is, shutting down periodically from what's going on around us. But I also know that in order to do the work that I do, I have to be cognizant and aware of what's happening. And I was listening to, the news and watching what was happening and realized, like one of my clients is a legal firm, a legal aid firm, and much of the law that they do is around immigration law. And so, just thinking about what's happening with them, and the impact that what's happening around us is having on their clients, but also how they're showing up. And the question that I asked myself and ultimately asked them is like, how are you showing up for each other? Because again, the type of work that they do is so fast paced. They always have to be on, but what are they doing to take care of themselves during this time? And so those are the questions that I really want you to think about, especially when stress is high, when anxiety is high, when there is uncertainty all around. What are the things that you can control, right? How are you shutting down when you need to shut down so that you can rejuvenate, when you can recharge, so that you can continue to push forward? And so as I was watching the news, that's what was constantly on my mind is how are people really trying to connect with those that are most impacted right now or could be impacted right now, and helping them see, I got your back, right? Take your rest as you need to take your rest. Step away if you need to step away, right? This is how I can help, or this is how the team can help and support. And so, are we doing that? Are we taking these times and these opportunities to do so? Or are we ignoring what is happening around us and acting as if nothing is happening, and sending a message to folks that may be impacted that what's happening you really don't care about, right? So sometimes what is unsaid sends a message, a louder message than what is said. So I wanted to have that conversation with you all today, because I think it's so important that we acknowledge what is happening. If we're talking about having inclusive workplaces and places where people feel like they are valued, seen, heard, and connected, these are the times when we really need to step into that and not just say it, but actually act it and live it and be it. This is when trust truly is built, right? When your actions must align with your words consistently. You're not just saying it to check a box. You're not just saying it to send an email out to say, yep, we acknowledged it and nothing has happened. You are doing the work to actually create the environment and provide the support that people need during these times. And they may say they don't need anything right now, and that is okay, right? So understand that these are unprecedented times. And these are times that for so many people, they are being impacted, even though they may not show up in that way. But you need to be proactive and talk about the resources and support and everything that is needed, that could be needed during this time. Or if you're not even quite sure what is needed, ask the question. So that is what I wanted to talk about in this week's episode. I will continue to have more and more of these conversations. I'll continue to post more about what we can do during these unprecedented times. If you go to the website, you will see some resources there. I do have a couple of workbooks and downloads and guides for leaders to with scripts for what to say, what to do during these unprecedented times. And so, or uncertain times, as I believe was what it's written in the guides. So wanted to make sure I said that today, because it's so important that we do not ignore what is happening around us. This, even though there's an attack on DEI, we are seeing what that looks like. And anyone that is truly for inclusivity, truly for equity, truly for belonging, this is your time to show what that means in real time. And until next time, have a good one.